Okay, let me start off by saying this. This was not a bad episode of Korra. However, it had the potential to be an amazing episode and an amazing start to this final stretch of Korra's story. Instead, it's kind of like an okay episode with some good things sprinkled in between. So let's start with the Julie thing. So that gets solved. It was obvious from the beginning. I mean, if you thought that she was actually telling the truth in wanting to cooperate with Kuvira, then you were obviously lying to yourself. And now it's out in the open. And so she was going to get blasted off her ass. But now she's saved. And she can go back to Varric to resume their loving relationship or their master-slave relationship, whatever it is they got going on there. But then by the end of the episode, she's like, oh, by the way, guys, Kuvira is going to be attacking Republic City in 2 weeks. And I'm like, why? What is the motivation for her to do that? It's like she's already unified the Earth Empire. What business does she have in Republic City, exactly? I mean, at this point, it just feels like she's being evil for the sake of being evil. Hi, I'm Kuvira, and I do evil things because that's what my description says. I'm the antagonist of the story, so I have to go and try and blow towns up and just attack cities. What the fuck? This is why I think Sahir would have been a much better final villain for this story. Because there was some background information, there was some depth to his philosophy. Kuvira's just like, I'm a bad bitch. Julie's kind of like, I regret nothing. Fuck you, fuck you. And then they put her up in the town. And even Batar Jr., when he sees Opal, you know, running to save Julie, he's like, wait, we need to stop this. I think the fact that Batar's family is at risk of being murdered by Kuvira is eventually going to cause some friction or conflict between him and Kuvira. I actually thought that Opal's Sky Bison, I believe its name was Leaky, had like some type of Sky Bison AIDS. Because he looked sick, but just turns out that that's just the way he is. I really like the way that Korra's character was handled in this episode, because in the beginning, she's completely supportive of Varric's position of not using any type of spiritual energy whatsoever to make weapons. And she's like, no, we're not touching that shit. And then she goes in search of the spirits, and she asks them for help. And that flying bird spirit is like, wait, if we end up helping you, you're basically doing the exact same thing that Kuvira is doing in using spirits as a tool for warfare. And then Korra's like, wait, no, that's not what this is about at all. You know, I'm just asking you for your help. And it's like, no, it's kind of like the same thing. The only difference is that you think, or at least Korra thinks that she's the good guy. Therefore, there's kind of like this entitlement of like, I can ask you for help. She can't. So I liked how that was flipped on her like that, because it just shows that she's not done learning. And, you know, I think the spirits may show up and help her out eventually, just maybe not in the way that she expects them to help her. Okay, now let's get into the Toph thing, which was kind of like, oh man, no. All right, the dad thing. Who's Lin's father? Random ass dude named Kanto. Kanto, like the Pokemon region? Lin is actually really upset. And, you know, as much as I like Toph, Lin actually has some pretty legitimate reasons as to why she's upset. She grew up without a father. Toph never talked about him, apparently. And now it's just like, and so she's really angry. They're eating ramen. She's really pissed off at this. And then eventually she just brushes it off. So I was surprised because that was framed as a very serious thing. And, you know, another thing is like, they haven't seen each other for 20 years. And Lin is just, give me a hug, Mom. And then Toph is like, I know I've been a shitty mom. It felt like they needed to wrap it up for time reasons. And we still don't know who Sue's dad is anyway. Hopefully we'll find out who he is eventually. But then another thing that just really irked me was like, Toph doesn't want to do anything. It's so weird because it's like, oh, you know, I'm not getting involved. I'm not fighting Kuvira and shit. Even though she was basically fucking up your house, the problem is that she didn't do as much as we know that she's capable of doing. That's the biggest problem. She's all like, oh, my back hurts. I'm like, no, you were wiping the floor with Korra, all right? I would have bought that excuse if during her training time with Korra, she would have been like, oh, fuck, you know? And then maybe she was pretending for Korra, so maybe, you know, she was rubbing her back, and then Korra looked at her and she's like, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about it. Something like that, but that was never foreshadowed. And then she says like, well, this is why Katara didn't get involved in any of the Civil War stuff. You know, because you just have to leave it to the younger generations. Now, pay attention, right? I'm not saying that the old generation should take away the spotlight from the new generation, because that doesn't work for the show. But in the Avatar: The Last Airbender, we got to see the old generation do their thing, kick some major ass. We had Boomy, we had Iroh, we had Sokka's master, we had Katara's master. They kicked ass, and they were able to do their thing, take back Ba Sing Se. So they were able to shine simultaneously with the new generation. Why can't this happen in Korra as well? And another reason why the whole like, oh, Katara didn't get involved, therefore I'm not getting involved. The reason why that excuse doesn't work is because Katara has never had a major role in any of the seasons of Korra. And it's not like I was expecting Toph to create an earthquake and send Kuvira into the depths of hell. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted her is just to have a role in terms of, you know, using her fighting style and just serve a purpose. She didn't have to win, she didn't have to lose, but just to see something more of what we got back in the swamp. By the way, that fight between Sue and Kuvira, Sue looked great. Like the way that she grabbed that metal and spinned it and then used it as armor, that was great. I understand that the new generations are the ones that are supposed to take care of business, but you know, it's also important to remember that the old generations, they're not dead just yet. So again, it wasn't a bad episode. It's just, I guess I was expecting the old generation to shine a little bit through Toph in this episode, and you know, it didn't happen as much as I wanted it to, but that's okay. Tell me your thoughts in the comments section below. Like the review if you did, I appreciate that, and subscribe to my channel for more Legend of Korra reviews. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.